Assalamualaikum students, this video is for November 2023 exam paper, that is paper 2-3 and question 4 part B. Assess whether supply side policy is the only way of reducing long-term unemployment in an economy. So the role of supply side policy in reducing the long-term unemployment. So there will be 3.5 or 3 components of this essay. Briefly, we'll be talking about what are the tools of supply side policy. There will be an introduction, and that is like maybe a paragraph or maybe a couple of sentences, and then usefulness of PES, usefulness of the supply side policies for reducing unemployment, and the third part would be the limitations of these policies, and then in the evaluation part we will do the comparison of a supply side policy with some other macroeconomic policy. So that's how we'll do. So as you are aware that there are 8 marks for knowledge understanding and analysis. There are 8 marks and there are 4 marks for evaluation. So first we do the analysis, and of course knowledge understanding we show what are supply side policies. So just to save time, I'll use the word SSP to write supply side policies. But I will recommend students to write the complete words when they attempt an essay question in paper 4 or even in paper 2. So supply side policies you may give some brief definition of this. Supply side policies are tools that aim to enhance aggregate supply, or you may write production capacity or production potential of an economy by promoting efficiency, competition, and work incentives. So there is work incentives. So you may go on and write another line that supply side policies aim to reduce the role of the government and enhance the role of market forces through deregulation, decentralization, and denationalization. So we may write that line as well. So SSP aims to enhance, aims to raise the role of market forces and reduce the role of the government through, I call it a 3D, 3 delta policy, through decentralization, deregulation, and denationalization, which is also known as privatization. So the role of the government is decreased, whereas the role of the private sector market forces is enhanced. This is the brief introduction of supply side policies. So we now talk about some tools. Some famous tools of supply side policy are education and training of workers, reforms of labor market, where we reduce the role of the trade union so that wages could be set not because of the power of trade union but because of the demand and supply forces, reforms of labor market. And I have chosen both these tools because the question is about unemployment. So I am actually writing those tools before I write other tools which are directly going to impact the labor market and the size of unemployment a country is experiencing. So some famous tools of supply side policy are education and training of workers, reforms of labor market, investment in the upgradation, infrastructure, and the list may go on and go on. For example, trade liberalization is also a tool of supply side policies, supply subsidies to efficient producers. This could also be quoted as examples of supply side tools. So now we move to the second part, and that is the usefulness, the linkage between these tools and unemployment. So we now talk about the third aspect. So supply side policy such as education and training improves skills of the workers. Now this is very important that you understand that whenever there is education, skills of workers, supply side policies, education training that improves skills of workers, enhance their productivity, and help reduce unit labor cost. Please understand the link between productivity and reduction in unit labor cost. We are talking about unit labor cost. We are not talking about total average cost. We are not talking about average total cost. We are only talking about the cost of labor. Let me explain. Productivity. Productivity is the ratio between output a worker makes and the number of hours the worker puts in. Or it could also be the total output made by a firm divided by the number of workers it has employed. So it is productivity means output per worker, or it could be output per labor hour. So both are correct definitions or interpretations of productivity. So productivity is a ratio. It's not total production. So for example, there are two workers. One is making 20 units and the other one is making 15. It doesn't necessarily mean that the one who is making more, that is 20, is more productive. We have to look at the inputs they are using. If the guy who is making 20 but using 2 hours compared to the person who is making 15 but only taking 1 hour in making those 15, the second guy who is making 15 in 1 hour is more productive as the other one is making only 10 per hour. So productivity is the ratio. So productivity improves when output rises faster than inputs. For example, if the person who is making 10 units in an hour now starts making 12 units an hour, he is more productive now. Similarly, a person who was making 10 units in 1 hour, now he is requiring less than 1 hour to make the same number of units 10, he is also more productive. So when productivity goes up, let's say the first example, there's a guy who's making 10 units in an hour, was getting a wage of, let's say, $50 an hour. So the unit labor cost was $5. The company was paying him $50 for 1 hour. In that 1 hour, he was making 10 units. So one unit was costing, as far as the labor cost was concerned, $5. But if the same person starts making 12 units in that 1 hour, so 12 units and the wage is still the same, that is 50. So that cost, that is 50 over 12, the cost per unit cost of that quantity would fall. That will be roughly, let me use my calculator. My mental math is not that great now with the passing. So $50 and 12 units. So the cost would be approximately $4.16 instead of $5. So unit labor cost, I can give the formula over here at this corner. It is it may not be needed, but you may actually give the formula if you want to know. Unit labor cost is wage paid per hour divided by output produced per hour. So when productivity goes up, unit labor cost falls. And what is the benefit there? And what is going to be its impact on the employment? So it helps firms lower prices. Why would they lower prices? Because the unit labor cost is less and their goods become more comparative both at home and in other countries. So, the reduction in unit labor cost will make goods more price comparative. Aggregate demand will, net exports, we may actually refer to net exports. Net exports and AD may rise. Net export is a component of aggregate demand. So if there are more exports and fewer imports because our local goods are price comparative, we'll be buying lesser imports and will be able to export more. That will raise net exports, and since net exports are a component of aggregate demand may rise, leading to higher GDP. To produce greater output, more workers would be needed, leading to reduced unemployment. So just look at this whole thing. We just go back to the question. The question is, supply side policy, is it effective to reduce long-term unemployment in an economy? So in the first paragraph and the second paragraph, we shown some knowledge and understanding of supply side policy. In the first paragraph, we gave a definition. In the second paragraph, we gave some examples. In the third paragraph, we took one of the tools of supply side policies and analyzed it, that how can it help to lead to reduced unemployment. So this paragraph finishes with the line reduced unemployment. So we are actually directly answering the question. This is one part of the analysis. So for the other part of the analysis, we need to talk about the limitations of these supply side policies. However, supply side policies require a lot of time and can show their impact on unemployment only in the long run. Maybe it may take decades, actually, years or maybe decades. Education and training. Now, Pakistan badly needs to work on its exports. Pakistan needs to raise its exports. As we are facing a persistent deficit on our current account trade balance. One of the ways to raise net export is to improve the labor resources for IT. So if we start training our youth today and start equipping them with skills, with IT related skills, we may get a benefit and a rise in exports of IT, but it may take maybe 5 years or maybe even 10 years. So supply side policies do take a lot of time. This is one of the limitations. So while they may be effective in reducing unemployment, in the long run, they may be less effective in addressing those types of unemployment that may require immediate action. Now, we'll talk about this more in evaluation as well. When there is demand deficient unemployment, when there is a recession, when people have lost jobs because there is low demand, um, some immediate action may be required. The economy may not be able to survive in the long run if we delay correcting the labor market. Surplus of labor must be addressed immediately in some cases. In those cases, supply side policy may not be effective, and is a time consuming thing. We'll discuss more of this thing in detail when we do the evaluation. So another limitation of supply side policies that they require huge amount of resources. Government may have to sacrifice some other important objective in order to allocate more funds for supply side tools. So, opportunity cost. Limited resources of government. Government spend more money for one aspect of supply side policy, some other aspects may be ignored. This may lead to budget deficit. And of course, this may force government to compromise on other areas where government wants to spend money. There could be other limitations, and you can draw that the education training, the workers may not be receptive. The workers may not be receptive to education and training, or education training may not be of required quality. You may also mention that. I may not write everything. The workers may not be receptive to education training, and education training itself may not be delivered properly. There could be delivery issues, there could be governance issues, and there could be delivery issues. The government may allocate funds for education, but they may not be spent intelligently, and they may not give the results we were expecting to have. Or the workers may actually demand high wages when they have become more productive, and that may not reduce unit labor cost. The workers have become more productive, they're producing more, but they're asking for higher wages as well, or workers may even emigrate to other countries. So these limitations you can all talk about that. Due to the limited time, I may not be writing everything. So supply side policies may not give desired results immediately, and even in the long run, some of the results of supply side policies may not be won because of wastage and corruption and inefficiencies of the government. Now, this is analysis. We have done both sides of the analysis now, usefulness as well as the limitations. We now move and discuss the evaluation. Kindly do not give headings in the exam paper. We are giving only for your convenience and for your better understanding. So now we move and discuss the evaluation. In evaluation, we must compare, even though the question doesn't ask us about another policy, but when the question says only, when the question says it is the only way, so the question is actually inviting us to compare this policy with another policy. In this question, the word only is a evaluative word, and this is encouraging us to compare it with at least one more macroeconomic policy. So, another macroeconomic policy that can be used to address unemployment is fiscal policy. Fiscal policy manages, probably we can only refer to expansionary fiscal policy here, as the question is about reducing unemployment. So fiscal policy raises government spending and or reduces taxes to raise AD, inject demand, and help reduce unemployment. However, fiscal policy is uh, less effective in reducing structural unemployment that is caused by a mismatch between skills of the workers and job requirements. Whereas it is more effective in reducing demand deficient cyclical unemployment. Please remember, whenever you do evaluation, use these words frequently. Words such as, let me find where did I write the word so that I can actually encircle it for your ease. Words like this: less or more. This policy is more effective. This policy is less effective. This policy can do this in a better way. This may take more time. So words such as this will give you good evaluation marks, because evaluation requires you to do comparisons. If my students ask me to describe evaluation in one word, I'll say comparisons. Do the comparisons of two tools you are using. So we have used this word less and more twice in our essay. And supply side policies. So while supply side policies are better, again we are doing an attempt to make a comparison, are better in reducing structural unemployment. They are less effective when there is a need for urgent recovery. If economy needs to address a problem on urgent basis, supply side policy will not be effective, as they take a lot of time. So that's how we are doing the comparison. Fiscal policy is effective. Why? It is less effective. Why? It is more effective. Supply side policy is more effective, less effective. So we are actually doing this comparison. So as supply side policies take a lot of time, we now move to the conclusion of this essay, and the essay should be concluded with the reason statement. So we'll say the effectiveness, this is the conclusion, the effectiveness and appropriateness of a macroeconomic policy, which policy will be more appropriate, which policy will be more effective in reducing unemployment, depends on the cause, size of unemployment, and how urgently it may be corrected. It also depends on the amount of resources a government has. For example, a government with a surplus budget is in a better position to use to raise aggregate demand by raising government spending and lowering taxes, whereas a government with a deficit budget is less able to raise aggregate demand through a deficit budget because their budget is already in deficit and they're already borrowing. So a surplus country may be in a better position to use that budget tool and the expansionary fiscal policy tool. So it depends on the resources of the government. It also depends how urgently the problem needs your intervention, and of course size and causes of unemployment. So this concludes my discussion. I hope you like our videos. For paper 4, we'll be soon uploading some videos for paper 4, and in paper 4 I'll prepare a pre-prepared, I'll prepare write an answer, get it typed, and I'll show you the typed answer. However, I'll make the diagrams myself to save time. I understand that at times you may find reading my handwriting difficult, but the issue is that I want these classes to be interactive, and I want you to have a complete sample answer as well at the end of the video. So that's the combination we are using. However, please feel free to send us your feedback, and I assure you they'll read your comments carefully and try to make amendments whenever we can find a valuable idea from your side. Thank you very much.